This is Thor Odinson, and you're listening to Across the Bifrost! Avengers, assemble!
Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Across the Bifrost, the Mighty Thor podcast, where on each and every episode, we explore the world of Marvel's Mighty Thor. I am your host, Ryan Doze, joined today by a Avengers-level squad to do our latest edition of the Simonson Saga. Yes, this is the point in the MCU where all the Phase 1 origin films are done, and now we're going to get together with some of our mightiest heroes, and we are going to conquer the first big crossover, big level event that we are doing in Simonson Saga. We are today talking about the Surtur Saga, and we are gonna be digging into 5 issues of Walt Simonson's Thor. It's gonna be a great time. So let me bring in our cast and crew. We've got some Warriors 3 in here. We've got an honorary 4th member of the Warriors 3 in here. They are going to introduce themselves. They are familiar. They are friends of yours, but they're gonna introduce themselves and tell you how they have contributed to the Simonson Saga thus far. We will start off with one of the Warriors 3. He covered the first Simonson Saga. Will Rose, welcome to our big crossover event, man.
Beta Ray Will is in the house, and I just gotta say, crack a will, woo!
Jesus.
I did not see the crack of Will coming back.
Yeah, it came back just for this.
It's not even related to this.
It's not at all.
That was like what, a new comic from a few months ago?
Yeah, that was a Doom.
Well, crack a doom and crack a plow, whatever. There's a lot of like sound effects in this crossover, and I can't wait to get to it and hear how loud it is amongst our friends here.
And Will, you covered the Beta Ray Bill origin story. Now, that feels like forever ago. What do you remember from our inaugural episode of the Simonson Saga?
Yeah, I mean, it's just that like what started Simonson's run on Thor is Beta Ray Bill on the cover smashing the Thor logo into many pieces and introducing a brand new character to the Marvel Universe. And that's what I kind of miss. When I still have my pull list. I get comics every week, and I kind of miss the emergence of new heroes and villains and the kind of mainline big two of comics, because most creators rightfully so, go to their own property owned kind of IPs, because they don't want like the big two to steal that money from them in case it makes it big. But anyway, like Simonson introduced a brand new character, and so that just kind of really smashed everything open and created a new kind of story and thread for Thor that kind of changed how Thor comics were done from there on out. And then we talked about Daniel Warren Johnson's Beta Ray Bill as well.
Boy, did we.
Yeah. So what Simonson laid the foundation for, Daniel Warren Johnson kind of leapt forward and did that thing, which a lot of things with in terms of the Surtur saga here, a lot of that I kept thinking about that run of what Daniel did, because he built upon that in terms of swords and flames and
it's almost like companion reading material.
Yeah.
You should go read that if you haven't. But Will, I mean, you're one of the Warriors 3, so it's always good to have you, man. Now, our honorary 4th member, the Balder the Brave, to our Hogan, Fandral, and Volstagg, Nathan Gilmour from the part 2 of the Simonson Saga is back. And I know some of you listeners are very excited to have Nathan back, because you're like, how does he know that about this? And how does he have that reference just ready to go? But Nathan is back to help us complete this first big storyline in Simonson's Thor. So Nathan, welcome back, man. And what do you remember from the second part of our Simonson Saga?
So in the second part, I mean, we got this wonderful story of Fafnir, the Marvel version. And, because I teach some medieval literature, of course, I was just totally geeking out, because we had Fafnir from the Volsung Saga, And then we had a Beowulf style storyline with Illif the Lost. And Illif the Lost was a companion of Harold Hardrada, who we all know, of course, from the Old English Chronicle.
All of us know.
I mean, all of us really. So
Of
I
course,
mean,
of course, yes.
what listeners had to suffer through was Nathan Gilmour geeking out on, I think, 7 different medieval texts.
And, I don't think any
I
suffering
had
was done.
such a great time with it.
And Nathan, we got lots of Thor core members and lots of people on our Discord that were like, yeah, really enjoyed that.
Very cool.
Thank you for bringing your expertise to our silly comic book podcast. And the last member, he is also a member of the Warriors 3. We could not do an event this big. We could not do an MCU style event without Across the Bifrost resident MCU expert and cosplayer extraordinaire. Faz, of course, is back for this edition of the Simonson Saga. So, Faz, what do you remember from the 3rd Simonson Saga? You helped us break down Malekith and the Casket of Ancient Winters, and there was a breakout character.
Who could he have been? Maybe the greatest character in the history of comics, right?
Oh, right. Roger Willis, the greatest
Roger
character in the
Willis.
history of American comics.
True American hero. Now, before we even get into it,
I am a real American.
As you were talking in Nathan, I realized that the reason why our show is so silly and weird is because I don't let you and Will focus on the important stuff as long as I should. So to any listeners who hate that about us, I'm sorry. And any listeners who love that, you're welcome. And I guess we'll go from there. I was part of the Malekith issues, but that's the least important thing that we learned. The most important thing was obviously Roger. The Casket of Ancient Winters was cool. And just all of the low-key love potioning. I don't mean Loki as in Loki. I mean pretty concerning stuff to be in an 80s comic, you know? It's not...
Well, yeah, I mean, that opening scene of burger rape. I mean,
like,
you guys didn't even mention that, and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad they didn't mention. Of course,
that's,
I just mentioned it.
Like
Never mind.
Do I have to bleep that out?
I was trying to
I
avoid
think you probably should.
The R
Triggered.
word. I was going to reference the Blurred Lines song instead, but yeah, no, my reading was definitely...
There's nothing blurry about those frames.
It was if I recall, the horniest that I've seen Simonson is what I kept saying.
Faz.
Yeah,
I remember it well.
And I would stand by that
comic you'd ever read.
Yeah, and I stand by that. It was unfortunately mostly unrequited love, which is very dangerous for especially in this day and age. But
the 80s.
But the art was beautiful, guys. The art was beautiful. The storyline was cool, and it all led to the opening of the gate, and that's why we're here today.
Faz perfectly brings us right up to where we're at today. We're talking about issues 349 through 353 of Walt Simonson's Thor. And these issues, a lot of times, are called the Surtur Saga, which is the culmination of this 1.5 year long story that Walt has been weaving throughout his book. We started our first issue, the issue that will reference 337 with Beta Ray Bill smashing the masthead. That issue is called Doom. And the last issue we're going to talk about today is called Doom 2. So we're bringing it full circle today, and we hope that you, wherever you're listening, whatever you're up to, whether you're doing some chores listening to us, you're in the car listening to us, you're enjoying a cup of coffee on a good morning, and you just want to chill with some buddies, talk about comics. We hope we can do that today with some of the most epic comics. Will said this before we started. This feels like it's epic in scope, but it also feels like it's just it delivers on so many different things. It's so big. It feels like, Lord of the Rings. It feels like Star Wars. It feels like these big, huge, massive properties coming together for these huge battles. And we're gonna get our money's worth out of this one, everybody. So let's get started. Let's jump into our first issue. Nathan is going to take us, give us a little bit of a synopsis of 349. And then we're gonna hem and haw about that one, and we're gonna get you through the Surtur Saga, hopefully with a smile on your face. And Nathan, take it away, man.
All right, so in 349, I mean, we start off with Roger, of course, because we need to start off with Roger. And what Roger is onto
Greatest of all
that Thor
time.
is not, is the Golden Mead plot. And so Roger has a sense, I think, that he can't match Lorelei in single combat. So instead, he sneaks into the kitchen and waters down the Golden Mead, therefore beginning the process of breaking the hold that the Golden Mead has on Thor. We can talk about that. I mean, it's kind of continuation of what was going on in earlier issues. But then we get the Great Assembly in Asgard, and this really is the biggest part of this issue. Balder and his would-be assassin Agnar arrive at Asgard. Odin, gathers everyone together, and then in good medieval style, before you go off to the big fight, you have to tell the story of why it is that we are fighting. And what we discover in the story is that Odin and his two brothers in ages gone by did travel into Niflheim, and when they were there, they discovered Surtur, for lack of a better term. And what we get in this story is that we get a reference to another of the great mythic texts, Voltron, Defender of the Universe, as Odin and his brothers form one giant body and go to battle against Surtur. I'm going to talk about some of the art there, because I mean just some of the ways that Simonson uses scale to tell a story is just glorious there. But eventually, this combat, they realize that they cannot best Surtur in single combat, and so Odin's two brothers decide to delay Surtur while Odin goes and escapes through a portal. And that's kind of where the story ends, and that's where Odin leaves us, realizing that if Surtur has returned, this is a power that even the combined powers of three old gods could not defeat. And if we started with Faz's issue, we're going to end with Will's issue, because in the last moment of 349, Odin summons back to Asgard Beta Ray Bill, and it's time to get down to business.
Oh man, we are very appropriately, we're setting the stage. Like Nathan said, we know why Odin's invested in this fight. Obviously, Asgard's at risk, the Nine Realms are at risk, but also he has a personal beef with Surtur. And there's so much kind of exposition, action-packed exposition packed in here. And I guess Will and Faz, like, what jumped out to you guys about 349 as we start this journey?
So before we get to the serious discussion, Nathan, you completely left out the most important plot point, which is that Odin is also aware of the Gold Mead plot and decides, well, as long as she's not immortal, I guess it's fine. And
That's
he's doing
right.
what he's doing.
That part of just like looking into like the witch's like brew or ball or whatever, like, oh, let me creep on and see what's going on. What is going on with my son? Why is it
Immortal
this?
again? Oh god!
my
Oh, she's a witch
God.
who's drugging him. Oh, cool. All right,
Okay,
as long as she's
That's
not.
fine.
Long as that.
We'll sort that out later.
It's like stooping to a mortal. Like we can do something. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Point taken.
Creeper Odin is
She
like
could be the
spying on-
worst immortal ever, but at least she won't die.
She's drugging him, but at least she can. Humans can't get away with that. It has to be magic drugs. Yeah.
And again, it goes back to like Simonson, like weaving in these different plots. Like there's the big plot of what's going on, A plot, but then there's B, C plot, and things that are happening with Balder, things that are happening with other. Meanwhile, they switch over. He almost has like a cliffhanger final page of a comic in the middle of the comic. Be like, what? You
Right.
leaving me there? Like, stay tuned after this commercial break, and we'll be right back to what's really happening.
Right.
Kind of thing that he's weaving this story, and I love that, and I love that like Odin's like, gather around, children. Let me tell you a tale of what's really going on. So it's like a flashback about really what's behind this big baddie threat, this villain that's coming down the road for this epic kind of story arc that he's been building up towards for a while.
Right.
And
And like I said, in this exposition, I mean, what's really great is that, in one frame, the sons of Bor, Odin and his two brothers, they will be just minuscule next to the giant hulking bulk of Surtur. And then just a couple frames later, when they go Voltron, they will be, shoulder to shoulder, the same height, swinging weapons that are the same size. But then when they're escaping, you get a perspective view so that they look, only maybe, half the size of Surtur, but it's because Surtur is in the distance pursuing them. So again, I mean, just on the art level, it's just a masterful sequence here, as Odin tells the story of the first battle with Surtur.
Yeah, and like the masterful fight, the art, like in terms of like the sword fight of like them coming together, and again referencing back to Crack-a-Doom is right there at the beginning. These two swords just clashing there towards the end, and what he does with the sound effects and the lettering and the art and the words is masterful storytelling when it comes to the medium of comic books. And
it does
this
say
is,
Crack-a-Doom. I owe you an apology.
You do.
It
I
absolutely
forgot that it
says
was
Crack-a-Doom.
here. Yeah.
I accept that from you, Faz.
Couldn't be bigger, couldn't be more aggressive, couldn't have the word doom in more bold letters. That's
And when I show up at your wedding, we'll toast together at a free drink or something like that.
That is a fabulous panel too, with Voltron, Odin, and Surtur swinging the swords at each other. It's just and what's the outcome, guys? What happens to the swords after they hit?
Don't cross the streams.
Right.
I wasn't going for a joke. I was going for the storyline for the readers.
Oh, okay. The sword, just the swords are shattered. Is that what you're looking for?
The swords are shattered. Exactly.
Okay, very good. Very
Which
good.
is really important because that's kind of what slows Surtur down and makes him spend the next millennia reforging. Right.
Right.
Wow. See, this is why you bring 4 people on to look at one line of comics, because I'm like, I'm all obsessed about like there's a panel in here that I want to talk a little bit more about, but I'm so focused on that panel that I'm like, oh right, the swords are gone. They have this huge clash and they're gone. But by the way, Will, when you go to Faz's wedding, wouldn't the appropriate thing to say be Crack-a-Groom?
I will
Get
stand
outta
up
here.
in the middle.
That was my Will Rose joke of the episode.
I'm so proud. You're learning well, Padawan. You're learning well.
Thank you.
Nathan is already regretting it. He's like, what did I get myself into? This is a terrible decision.
So
does anybody here have anything to say before we do these vows? I stand up and go, Crack-a-Groom! And you're like, oh my gosh, security.
Cynthia would be mortified.
Cynthia's just like, I said, don't let him in. The one panel though I was kind of obsessed with is the panel at the bottom of page 20 where Odin has taken in the power from his brothers, and we get this little bitty like narration style box that says, "Thus was born the Odin power, the birthright of the sons of Bor." Now, the Odin Force is a huge aspect to Thor comics. It is paramount up there with like the Phoenix Force, the Power Cosmic. It's up there with those types of ambiguous, what's the power level of this thing? It's like, well, it's whatever we need it to be. It does whatever we want it to do. But seeing this as kind of the origin story of that concept in Thor comics is really, really cool. And I think it can kind of get breezed over with how kind of commonplace it is in Thor comics. Like, oh, Odin, the Odin Force. Yeah, sure. They're synonymous almost. But this is how we got that power source. And I really, really love that Simonson gives us his explanation of that in this comic, and that it's tied to Surtur. And that's another reason why Surtur and Odin like really, really do not like each other. Like they are not fans of each other on any level.
Really? I thought they were buddies.
Hey,
They're hanging out.
I thought we were buddies.
And this is one of the many things that comics and medieval texts have in common, is that both of them just fearlessly re-narrate the origin of things. So I mean, if you read an Arthur story, don't assume you know who Galahad is, because it's going to recreate Galahad. And likewise, the Odin power, we just relocated it in the first battle of the first battle with Surtur. There we go.
Yeah. I love that also, because Nathan referenced this on in our Simonson Saga episode 2, that like the cool thing about mythology is you can do so much with it. Like you can reinvent it, and you can tell different stories within it because it's kind of malleable. It's not there's not like I'm sure there's more the certain eddas and certain sagas are more accepted because they've probably been widely like researched. But Nathan, would you say that something as kind of loosey goosey as mythology, like there's no canon to it? You like
To be sure, and I mean, different mythologies have different histories, of course. But yeah, I mean, there is no official version of Zeus. There is no official version of Marduk. Every text that tells the story tells a different version. So I mean, um, for instance, I mean here, what Simonson's doing, and I realize I just jumped from mythological text to comic text, but it's kind of what I do. I mean, there's not a whole lot in the Eddas that give us anything like this, but we do get this moment just a page before what Ryan was referencing, where Odin's two brothers, their final lines to him, I mean, are not out of Beowulf, they're not out of any Edda. They are, "Into your hands we give the future." So I mean, it's a Good Friday service. I mean, they are sacrificing themselves, and I mean, their last words are the last words of Christ from the cross.
Will, any thoughts?
Yeah, and in terms of that living text, you're reinterpreting the story for your present context. And I always make the case that even Scripture, the Bible, is that way too. There is a misinterpretation, like this is what it says, and it has to say this for the entire time. There's one interpretation forever. No, you're reinterpreting the text for your present moment. The whole book of Deuteronomy is like reinterpreting the text, the Torah, for their present time in exile. You have two creation stories in Genesis because they're reinterpreting what creation means for their particular context, hundreds and thousands of years apart from one another. So I think that same thing happens here, that Jason Aaron reinterpreted Thor for the present context of what he was doing with what Simonson already built upon. So that same thing is happening. So the myth and truth endure. There are universal truths, but then we reinterpret it for our present context and where we find ourselves in history and where we are in whatever stage of life and faith that we find ourselves in. So yeah,
Right.
100%.
And then even the
Like-
Eddas, those 13th and 14th century Northern European texts where we get a lot of these stories, there's no alphabetic language in Northern Europe until Christian monks show up with Latin. So, I mean, what we get is Christians retelling the stories of Vikings, and, it's either coincidental or it isn't coincidental that, the Viking stories are, in the form that we receive them, obsessed with a coming day of judgment. Now, is that the Christian influence? Is that the Viking influence? The answer is, I mean, it doesn't come with a commentary, so we don't know, but it's certainly fun to speculate.
Yeah, it's probably at the very least, it's a mixture of both.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you're saying they're getting ready to Ragnarok and roll, is what you're saying?
Oh,
Something like that, Will. Something like that, Will.
Okay, just wondering.
Baz, you were going to jump in there for a second, but our convergence of thoughts all got you.
I was only going to jump in to say that all this talk about Christianity changing over time felt like a direct shot at Roman Catholicism, but I was just going to leave it at that and move on.
Hey man, there's Vatican II. Papa Francis does a pretty good job.
That's true. He does. He drags them kicking and screaming into the 18th century, and someday we'll be where we're supposed to be.
Faz can say that because he is Catholic. That's
yes,
right.
that's true.
It's like a dentist, making dentist jokes.
For anybody who can see the video, which I don't know if Ryan's going to put it on Patreon or whatever, I am wearing a gold crucifix on my neck. I'm Roman Catholic Italian. So because of that, I can make the comments because I'm in the ecosystem.
He can make those comments, and he can make pasta like a boss. So, Baz, can you make pasta?
I mean, I could make pasta, but I don't make it well enough to not get just like a Barilla or something. And then Cynthia's actually the one who makes the really nice sauce and then puts everything together, and then we have a nice red sauce together.
You two really are a match.
Her family owns a pizza restaurant.
What?
Was meant to be, guys.
By the way, the more I learn about her, she gets cooler, and you get luckier.
This is a slight pivot, but when Cynthia had her bridal shower the other day, Ryan messaged me and was like, "Yeah, so the more I see you guys together, the more I wonder, like, why is she settling like this?"
And by the way, that's when you know you've reached a level of friendship where you're like, I could probably get away with this, right? I could probably get away with this.
Didn't you feel bad afterwards too? And I was just laughing the whole time.
You're like, oh, Cynthia loved it. But speaking of not getting away with things, Surtur is not going to get away with this plan because Odin has summoned Beta Ray Bill and Sif back, which means Will is going to lead us into 350 and kind of lay the groundwork here because his guy Beta Ray Bill is back. Beta Ray Will has the mic, and he's going to tell us all about 350.
It's time to Ragnarok and roll, y'all.
Woo!
And yeah, like in terms of like, I've shared in another podcast, Hammered Q&A, that one of my favorite issues of all time in Thor is 350. And I was reading it for this particular podcast that I was like, I think this is peak Thor, peak Simonson. Martine Cocola like asked, what do you think is like an issue that like epitomizes Thor? And I was like 350. And it's because like Odin calls Beta Ray Bill back to help with like, if we're going to do this, we need to bring in some help. We need to bring in some friends. Beta Ray Bill and Sif emerge onto the scene. The Cosmic Avenger rides again, as it says, and they're right there. And it is like for your Lord of the Rings fans, it's like a Helm's Deep, gather your troops together. We're all going to line up ready to go into battle. So it's a big setup. They're getting ready to go to battle. The battle hasn't really happened yet for the most part of this comic, but they're gathering their troops together, both sides, and they're building up like, what are we going to do next? And then eventually they land on Midgard and the battle ensues, and there you have like again this crossover we talked about. Like, is this Infinity War Endgame? If this comic would have been done in the 2000s, we would have like a 12-issue crossover event, summer event for Marvel, with all the tie-ins from Avengers and Fantastic Four and Guardians of the Galaxy and whatever popular book you can think of is going to be thrown into this kind of crossover, because in this you have Star Fox. Yep. That questionable, creepy Avenger that may.
He does
A
have
lot of-
like, how do you
a lot
use
of gross
Star
sex
Fox's
stuff
powers
in
in a good way?
Yeah, he probably will not show up in a Marvel movie these days. But you have Star Fox with Scarlet
Was
Witch.
he not in the after credits in Eternals?
He was, and they're aggressively changing what sort of character he is. He's just going to
Yeah.
be very suave instead of having the specific powers that he has.
Yeah,
Right. Okay.
and
Okay.
the
That's
closing
what you're
credits,
driving at. Okay.
Isn't he like a very popular musician, pop star?
Harry
Yes,
Styles.
yes, Grandpa Will. He is indeed.
Yeah.
He's,
I think
he's
the
one of the
kids
most
call him-
popular
music
on
on
the
the
planet.
radio.
Yes. Yeah.
I think the kids call him Harry the Styles. I think they call him.
Harry the Styles. Oh my god!
I'm pretty sure it's actually the Harry the Styles. 'Cause I'm
Harry the Styles.
My daughters are listening to this going, oh my God. Dad.
I'm very hip with the
Your
children,
daughters are
so
listening to this?
I can speak to
Yeah,
this.
they listen to every episode, and then they're going to go, you took us to this concert. No, they don't listen to these episodes.
I was
They
gonna
listen
say,
to us talk about comics from the
God.
80s. That's incredibly impressive.
That's right. I give it to them and say, you must listen to this if you want me to pay for your
Oh.
college. No, that's not true.
Okay.
No. But so
thing
you
they
have
don't
like
listen,
Star
right?
Fox, Scarlet Witch, Captain Marvel, and Wasp all there together.
Yeah, and Wanda
fighting.
looks great in this.
Wanda looks great.
yes,
The whole
yeah.
art in this, I just want to say, and I did like off screen, I messaged and Ryan and I talked, and I was like, why does this issue look different from like others on my Marvel app? But for some reason, like it's just small. The how do I put it? Like the panels are wider, so you see like smaller characters. They're smaller on the screen, so you have like a wider shot with hard edges and inks and the word bubbles are. It's just so good, and
It's
there's
like
so many-
cinematic.
it's very cinematic, and so you do have like all the characters there. Warriors 3, the Enchantress. You have the Avengers fighting. You have the Balder side story. But one thing that I like is that like the Manhattan, where most things happen in the Marvel universe, is on fire because of these demons that have just been unleashed upon the city. But then Thor really uses his like godlike thunder power, where he brings in the lightning, but he brings in the rain to put out the fire. And there's this one panel where there's like a rainbow that leads into Manhattan. So you see this kind of like calming of the storm that they're bringing to this. But is this the part where they kind of split up, where like Beta Ray Bill is like sent to handle things on Midgard, and then Thor goes off to fight Surtur on Asgard? Is this kind of where
This
that
is
where
this is kind of the preface before that. That's going to
Yeah.
happen in the next issue.
right?
This is where like well, actually, in here, this actually kind of explains the trick that Surtur has played. I'm going to read the last two panels of this issue because they are incredible.
Yeah.
And that's this, honestly, it was my favorite part of the issue. I love a good Marvel fight scene, but the way this one ends feels like a Game of Thrones to be continued, like, oh no, what have we gotten ourselves into kind of ending of a book. There's this long horizontal panel of red, and in the foreground you see the heroes in blue and really thick inks, and there's this huge, not pretty, not stylized, but a very rough edged sound effect that's just this blah, this loud droning sound. And here's what is said. Beta Ray Bill says, "What dreadful wail is this? It feels as though it would shatter my skull." And Thor says, "It is the Gallarhorn. Heimdall sounds the Gallarhorn. The enemies of the gods stand before the gates of Asgard. Curse me, a fool. 'Twas Surtur's plan from the beginning. He fired the city that I might quench the blazing inferno with the powers of the storm at my command, and so create the very path he sought to Asgard. Bifrost, the rainbow bridge, was taken, Surtur to the heart of the golden realm, and only my aged father now stands between him and the total destruction of the universe itself." Hot damn, that is a way to end a book.
Yeah.
And then it just says this story we call, the story that we have next is one we call Ragnarok and Roll 2.
To be clear, it's TOO, not the number 2.
Ragnarok and Roll also. But
as well, yes.
that is how we end 350. Like, I mean, guys, there's so much in this book, and Nathan's been weirdly quiet. So I just got to know, like, what were your thoughts about 350 before we head off back to Asgard and we get a big climactic fight scene?
Well, this is the first time I'm revisiting this book, in the MCU era. I read it as a kid, 30 years ago. But what I realize is just how much this issue, starts to set the visual storyboard paradigm for the Battle of New York in the MCU. I mean, all the way down to, setting up the portal device on a skyscraper, and, half of the team.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Part of the team has to go into the portal in order to destroy it so that, the army will disintegrate, because apparently a lot of armies in Marvel disintegrate once you hit the special target.
You don't have to beat all of them. You just have to beat like some of them.
Yeah. But, that's really what jumps out at me. The other thing is that, you have this, and listeners, I'll be sure you hear all the syllables here, a Mephistopheles storyline going on with Balder, right? Mephistopheles from the Faust legend, that, Christopher Marlowe probably has the most famous version of it, where, in order to get what you want, you have to sell your soul. And, Balder at first, tries to laugh in scorn at it. But, by the time we get, into, later scenes, it's not entirely clear how that has come out. Has he sold his soul? Has he not? That's something that kind of gets left hanging here in 350.
Baz, do you have anything for 350?
Yeah, and you keep having me follow Nathan, and like he has these great combinations to these these allusions to these great stories, and I'm just updating everybody on the weird drugging Thor plot. But
That's important too,
Lorelai,
Faz. That's
you're
important
like, you're like
too.
our correspondent in the field for
it's
it.
it's important. I'm the expert on, I'm not going to finish that sentence.
Faz is like, meanwhile, ...
So Enchantress shows up, and we learn that she and Lorelai do not get along, even though they're sisters. But Enchantress would like Lorelai to assist in the war against Surtur because all hands on deck, he's destroying the universe. Let's get in here. And Lorelai's like, "You're just jealous that I got the man that you want, girl. I'm not getting in there." So she stays back. She's enjoying her win with the Golden Mead. Doesn't know it's been watered down by the real American hero, and that's pretty much my only contribution, other than to say the art, as always, is fantastic in this issue.
Yeah,
Right. I mean, it almost feels I will say it almost feels infinitely redundant for us to be like, and of course the artwork is insanely awesome. Like, and there was a bit of news that came across marvel.com the other day as we're recording this. It'll be a few weeks after it once you're listening to this, listeners. But Walt Simonson is coming back to Thor to do a what if Loki story. And the cover, and we were getting ready for this episode. We were all reading these, and I saw the cover. I was like, damn, man, you still got it. Like still got it, never lost it. Like, when Walt draws Thor, I immediately, like, it just makes me feel good. I don't know any other like way to say that, but like when Walt draws Thor, I feel good about it, and I feel good about what we've done with 350. So let's.
Can I ask one more question real quick, Ryan? I mean, what do you guys think about the Goonhild side story? Because I mean, I'll confess, with the grand scope of everything else going on, will the little kids beat the big dumb troll story just kind of takes me out of it a little bit.
I actively hated that story because of, like you said, I feel like it's fine, like it's a fine thing, but you've got all these world-ending threats, and you already have the silly Mead plot, and then you're going to add a second silly plot in there too. Just a little too much. Like you can have one weird one like that, but
Well, so I agree with Faz wholeheartedly. I did not like it. And most of the times, even if I don't like something, I can admit like, oh, but I get why it happened. I don't even get why it's happening. And maybe that's a very niche, annoying question we can ask Mr. Simonson himself
when he comes on. But does it come to play later on? Does it come to play later on?
It does.
In a way, I mean, but it remains a self-contained storyline.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it doesn't link back.
And there's a point.
It isn't like the kids show up, power up with the kid force and take out Surtur or anything like that. It's just
with November Rain playing in the background.
Nothing they put into
a different Thor story. Sorry.
Scene. Love that scene. You know I'm the biggest supporter of that movie.
I don't think that was
well done. Yeah,
with how much you love that movie.
Quick 30 seconds. Thor: Love and Thunder severely underrated. Thanks everybody. All right, next.
Well, again, it goes back to like the style of the 80s. Like I'm thinking of like, let's talk about A-Team. Let's talk about these things. They have commercial breaks. They have subplots. They have like silly things on the side. So he's weaving in and out. And again, we talked about the Claremont influence of like X-Men. The same thing was going on the X-Men. Same thing was going on the Avengers. Like these books, that was the pattern. That was the Marvel way at the time.
And that's how you get everybody in, right? Because some people won't care about the big stuff, but they want to know what the kids are doing. In theory, I guess that's the reasoning behind it.
And the big flaw is that Guns N' Roses hadn't released Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 yet. I mean, if they had, the story would have been very different.
Yep.
Nathan, there will be a point when we get to 353 that I will actively hate that storyline the most. And I reread it today, and I was like, still don't like it. Still, like, I'm trying. Like most listeners of this show know, I actively try to like things. I very rarely actively dislike.
You positive? Really? Are you sure, Ryan?
Oh, stop. We're not talking about some lame ass like Iron Man. I did that to myself. So we're gonna move on to 351. And this is the issue that Will was kind of alluding to, where we're like, okay, everybody, here's the stakes. Here's what's happening. Okay, everybody split up. Everybody's gonna split up in this issue, and we're gonna do like a Scooby-Doo style, like, you go with them and you go with them and you figure out this thing.
I almost said split up and search for clues, but I stopped and then you said it.
Yeah, Beta Ray Bill can't see without his glasses. It gets really weird.
It does. It does get weird.
Roger, and the Human Torch just keep eating sandwiches in like some spooky kitchen.
And Roger's just mowing down Muspel's like there's no tomorrow.
Like he's freaking Laura Croft.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here's what happens. Thor is kind of immediately going to go off to Asgard because he knows that's where the real fight with Surtur is happening, and he's not going to leave Odin undefended. And he's not going to leave the Rainbow Bridge, Heimdall, anyone who's left. They've got kind of a skeleton crew left in Asgard because that's like the final line. That's the final line of defense. They kind of put all their eggs in this Midgard basket, and Thor knows he needs to have like a strategic retreat back to Asgard. Now, here's how we kind of split up the gang. And guys, if I forget kind of someone who got split off, help me out here. But mainly, here's what happens. Roger and the Human Torch, yes, Johnny Storm, one of the members of Thor, they head off back to England to try and close the Casket of Ancient Winters, thinking that will positively benefit them against the Dark Elves and against the fire demons. And that will come into play later on. That actually plays a big role in the last issue that we're going to talk about today. So we have them going off back to England. They are in Reed Richards' Rip Roar 1 spaceship, and it's the fastest one he's ever invented, conveniently just in time for this issue. And then we kind of go back to Balder. Balder's still trying to convince Carnilla, like, hey, Carnilla, like, it'd be really great if you'd come help us. And she's like, no, I'm not really and I love this is probably the most we'll talk about Balder in this, but he says to her, I am no games player that I should match my life against that of billions, nor are you. Be thou the woman that you are, not the spoiled child that you pretend to be. The woman I know to be, Balder, the Balder before you is no longer the god you knew, but you shall know me, madam. Indeed, you shall. Ooh. Balder is like,
hey now,
kind of a slut, and he's like, hey, if it gets me the army that we need, I'm gonna take one for the team, everybody.
And it's another romantic subplot, which is what these ones are actually about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then we got Beta Ray Bill is still on the ground in New York. And there's a really funny exchange with an army colonel where Colonel is talking to Vision. Vision is like the leader of the Avengers at the time. And this colonel turns around and he's like, holy smokes, who is that? And
his helmet pops 3 feet off of his head in surprise.
Right. Very
like we're suddenly in a Bugs Bunny cartoon. It's like
a Sunday.
I didn't notice that until now.
He's like,
that's another one of those moments. I'm like, really? I mean, what does that detail add to this?
Cartoony the Colonel is, and Beta Ray Bill's having none of it. He's like, as far as you're concerned, Colonel, I am Thor, and the battle is mine to command.
It's like, do I have time for this shit? No, there's no Looney Tunes bullshit here.
Time. Yeah. Absolutely not.
Now, real quick, Ryan, before you go any further,
sir.
The very next page, there is a figure who has a lot of lines. Is that Tyr? Is that Elif the Lost return to battle? I mean, who is this figure? He never gets named.
You're talking,
and it was bugging me.
Before
the page after the Colonel's helmet pops off because he gets surprised.
Yes. So yes, Elif is in that scene and Tyr is in that scene. So
I was right on both counts.
Yes, Elif comes back and Elif is gonna kind of help out with one of the parts of the plan, and Tyr is gonna be in the villain squad that's gonna help out with another part of the plan. And a lot of what Beta Ray Bill is in charge of at this point, all of the people that are still on Midgard fighting all the fire demons coming through the portals, is they've got to close the portal, a la first Avengers movie, and they have to do it. They have to do it because if they don't, like the demons are going to get through Midgard to Asgard, and then just everybody's screwed. So Beta Ray Bill is putting together a plan with all these other heroes and some villains to go close these portals. Meanwhile, let's get back to Asgard. Let's get to Thor and Surtur's big first fight. Surtur is there in his fiery flame diaper, and he's aboard the Rainbow Bridge, and he's fighting Heimdall, he's fighting Thor, and then Surtur does something that has never been done before, will never be done again, will not be reduplicated, dozens of times. He destroys the Rainbow Bridge.
You can't do that? What?
Guys, I was as surprised as you were.
Nobody's ever done that.
No
It's
one's
probably hit way harder in the 80s, let's be honest.
And no one will ever do it again. But we see him lift Twilight up, and he just bashes the crap out of the Rainbow Bridge. And then we cut away the kid storyline with the troll that we already said we absolutely love. And then really cool when we go back to Midgard, Beta Ray Bill and Sif have a conflict. Because we know Beta Ray Bill and Sif have been away, kind of being the cosmic heroes, and they're kind of cleaning up the messes related to Beta Ray Bill's people. They do not see eye to eye on what Sif should be contributing to this fight, and Sif takes none of his crap. This is some of my favorite Sif because, way back in the 60s, Sif was treated as this man, she is really one tough broad. She really can fight when she has to. Now she's like, no, I have to fight. I want to fight. Get out of my way. I'm going to go do this. And we see Heimdall get taken out of the battle in Asgard. And then Thor and Surtur, they come to this huge climactic point where Thor is actually knocked out of the battle. And Thor stays knocked out for a while. In fact, a whole issue. Thor's not even in the next issue because of this blow that Surtur has dealt him. But the last page, I have to read this page again. I have to read this last page because Odin shows up in the fight. He says a little bit of a jerk thing. We're like, Odin, why are you saying that? But he shows up, and Surtur says, Odin, Lord of Asgard? And Odin responds with, back, creature of evil. Though I could have aided him, valiantly hath my son fought the good fight. Long shall it be remembered in song and story. And though I could have aided him, that's the jerk statement that he said, in case that eluded anybody. I bided my time that you might expend such energy as you would to defeat him, and thereby weaken yourself. So he threw Thor to the wolves and was like, hey, now I can come in and get the win.
I like how he talks about it as if it's a marathon runner who just needs to let the other guy run longer to start so he can outlast him. Yeah.
Like Surtur's just going to get tired and be like, whew, sheesh. Okay, everybody, wrap it up. We got to go back.
I guess we'll do Ragnarok next year. Sorry, guys.
I'm cramping up right now. Something fierce. Anyone got bananas? He finishes up by saying, now for my son Thor, for my brothers Vili and Ve, I stand between you and the eternal flame of Asgard, and thou shalt pay for every drop of blood shed in thy hideous cause.
Yeah.
Inject that straight into my veins, Walt Simonson. That is so freaking good. And anyway, sorry, my brief synopsis was basically me rereading the whole thing and saying awesome. So I'm gonna tag out. Someone tag in.
Yeah,
that last
ahead.
bit that you were doing, Ryan, it is so Shakespearean. Because you got Odin shifting his pronouns in the middle of that sentence. He calls Surtur you, but then in the last insult he switches to thou, which is how Elizabethan aristocrats, at least in the plays, address servants and villains. So just that attention to detail on Simonson's part, I just love it. I love it.
That's good. I'm like, man, it's pretty cool that Thor like made himself into a tornado. That was fun. And then Nathan's like, notice the shift of the pronouns, how Shakespearean and the villains.
Will, imagine how I feel, because there's you who's more highbrow than me,
Yeah.
Ryan who's about the same, like maybe a little more highbrow than me, and then Nathan's just like 8 levels above, and I'm sitting here
know.
like there wasn't even a Mead comment in this. In
There
this
wasn't-
Well, and
It wasn't a
before
sex
that,
joke.
okay,
Why wasn't
since-
there a sex joke?
No, there was a sex joke. Balder was
That's-
here getting laid. It's
Don't
just,
worry, Faz will get to it, Will.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I,
okay, right,
am going to get the
Wait,
rest of my Shakespeare in first, because when Thor is fighting Surtur, one of his lines, curse you, or Surtur says, "Curse you, Odinson! Never have I felt such pain since I slew your father's brothers." And then Thor comes back, "Then shall I strike 1,000-fold more strongly until thy lips cry, hold enough." And that is the last line that Macbeth shouts at Macduff before they enter their final mortal combat.
Stop it.
So I mean,
Stop it.
he's having a Macbeth moment there, right in the middle of it.
Meanwhile, I'm like, it's
love
cool
that
that Surtur played baseball with the hammer and knocked it out of the park.
I love that Will instinctively was like, stop.
No. I love it. Like, and meanwhile, I'm looking at like the sound effects. I'm like, remember that time when they were like Shrakadoom? That was cool. And you're like, Macbeth.
It's a lot like
I'm like-
Crockadoom, but Shrockadoom is actually only
Okay,
used
time-
in this context.
Time to redeem us right here, Will. There's a cool panel where you see the flakes of the Bifrost falling off.
I wrote that
Yes.
down. Yes.
Yeah, that is beautiful to show that it's kind of going through the whole realms all destroyed. Look at us, highbrow, noticing the details. Killing it.
Nathan, this is the ultimate example of us trying to punch up. We're just
But that, I mean, I think that's why this may be the greatest like story arc in Thor history, like this particular one, because
So much detail.
it weaves out it weaves in like the hero moments that cross over the entirety of the Marvel universe, along with like attention to detail of Norse mythology and Shakespearean speak. I guess that's how you say that. And then like with a cliffhanger of what's going to happen next. Is the battle continues. It's like it's not over. We still have 2 more issues to get through this. So
All right, I want to tee you guys up, because there is a bit of lore that I need to learn from you all. Because on the second to last page, Surtur refers to Twilight as having been forged in the heart of the galaxy. So I mean, in this universe, I mean, is Muspelheim part of the same galaxy as Midgard is? Or I mean, are the realms different parts of the Milky Way? Or because I mean, he makes reference to the galaxy as if we know which galaxy he's talking about.
The
that's how-
answer is yes, Nathan. The answer is yes.
so
Yeah.
we Nathan, we actually got this question for our hammered Q&A.
Oh, no kidding. I see, I didn't do my homework. I didn't listen to that.
Well, no,
It was way
Has
too
it?
long. It's all good. Yeah.
yeah, Trip went insane with all of his questions. But so there's this idea that the Asgard and the 9 realms are like in a pocket dimension by themselves, where they kind of interact with our dimension. Like you might be able to access it, and then there's the idea that they just like it's just far out in space somewhere, and they're like in their own solar system kind of thing. That like both.
Well, and of course, when Jason Aaron gets a hold of it, I mean, the mythology shifts completely, which I'm perfectly fine with, because I teach medieval literature. Like, change that mythology. That's what I'm here for.
The thing that I landed on personally, and the guys can speak to how they view this. Faz clearly is like, yes, both, obviously.
Yeah.
But
Depends on who you ask who's writing.
to me, yes, to me, it's who is writing and what do they need Asgard to be.
Mhm.
Where so Muspelheim is often referred to as being in the burning galaxy. That's where like Beta Ray Bill encountered the fire demons that send him into his meeting with Thor. He talks about the burning galaxy. I think it's more hype, more talk than it actually is a literal galaxy where Muspelheim exists at the center of that galaxy. I think it's one of those things where it's hyperbole for hyperbole's sake kind of thing.
But
Okay, fair enough, fair
his
enough.
whole thing started with like this galaxy kind of like widespread like stars with a big sound effect doom, and there's this forging of a sword. So it starts with that first issue that Simonson ever started with Beta Ray Bill, because he has history with Surtur too. But it starts with, and you're wondering like, what is this going on? And that's the kind of the B plot, C plot that's kind of weaved throughout this Beta Ray Bill origin story, is that this forming and shaping of the sword in the galaxy. So he's pointing all the way back to the first issue that Simonson ever wrote and drew.
Yeah, I got you. And I guess what threw me is, Beta Ray Bill, I mean, gets narrated as coming across the same, space that, Midgard inhabits, right? But I got the impression that Muspelheim was a different space, a different dimension, a different whatever noun you want to use there, that doesn't necessarily include the Milky Way because it's in, something else.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't think there's a clean cut answer.
Okay, fair enough. I didn't know if there was some
shifted back and
exposition
forth.
issue where, Tilda Swinton, pulled up a big map and showed you where everything is.
That was really good. That was good. But we didn't really have a clear cut answer when we did it on Hammered Q&A, and we do not have a clear cut answer now. But
the easiest thing to say is that Asgard and the Nine Realms as a whole are what we are not what we deserve. They're what we need right now. Right? There's no good answer that lasts the whole time. It's just whatever it needs to be for the story. I can see Ryan cringing. I can see Nathan laughing, and Will's distracted by
the Dark Knight.
What's wrong with quoting the Dark Knight?
I'm just asking if
I'm
that's
our movie guy.
Or
we have a Shakespeare guy, we have a comics guy, we've got a movie guy, and we've got a host. That's our thing. Of course, I'm quoting the Dark Knight.
Why do I feel like I got the short end of that deal?
Because you're all those things, Ryan. You're a movie guy, you're a Shakespeare guy, and you're a comic guy.
Listeners, let's be very clear. Ryan is not a Shakespeare guy. I read Romeo and Juliet under duress at school.
Can I go back to something earlier in this issue real fast?
Absolutely.
Like, so they have the Doom Tube, which Reed Richards is forming,
which is a great compound noun, by the way.
Yeah, and like, but isn't that going back to like
no,
the Boom Tomb of like Darkseid, and like, is he playing around with like the mother box and the Boom Tube and all that kind of stuff? Like, because there's a portal, they're getting demons through, they got the Doom Tube, and I'm like, okay, which came first? Darkseid, Surtur, probably Darkseid because that's Kirby.
Definitely Darkseid.
Yeah, but I think he's playing around with that kind of like trope of these demons coming through the portal that Reed has to science this thing. Let's science this problem out of the way, and we gotta figure this out.
I would say,
right, and like I said earlier, the tunnel is dependent upon a skyscraper mounted portal device.
Yeah.
So I mean, someone in that writer's room in 2010, whenever they were writing 2012 Avengers, had Simonson open and said, "Hey guys, look at this frame."
Yeah, I mean, it's I think it's one of those cool things about storytelling and creativity is like, which came first? I mean, there's probably something that came first, but like, I think the coolest thing is like what inspired what, and like obviously like the Darkseid comparison and the tubes, like, and what Will is referring to. Simonson was someday we'll hopefully get to ask him like how knowledgeable was he of what was happening in other people's books in other parts of the industry at the time. Like, did he look at an idea, he's like, oh, I think I can do my version of that. Yeah. Or and then what Nathan said, like people looking at these these big crossover style these big movies, like, hey guys, I have a cool element we could fit in here and it would be really cool. That's what's the cool thing about creativity and being part of a team and being inspired by other creatives. We are going to just take a brief break here. And before we jump into 352, we're going to refill our glasses, and we're going to, take some deep breaths, because we have got a big culmination of this storyline coming up in issues 352 and 353. We will be right back. Okay, everyone, we're going to take a quick time out to remind you all that we have a Patreon. You can, for a few bucks a month, join the Thor Corps over on Patreon and join fantastic members of our next level of support. You can join folks like Will, Joshua, Eric B, Phil, Drew, Trip, Haley, Joseph, Jason, Eric T, Brandon, and our lone listener supreme, the Burt Zerker. So all of those folks, they support us at that next level by joining the Thor Corps and checking us out on Patreon. Over there you get bonus episodes, early audio for upcoming episodes, and you find out stuff about the show way in advance. You are in the know on the stuff that's going on across the Bifrost. So if you are able to, we would just love you'd consider supporting us at that next level. Either way, we hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. Okay, everybody, we're back for 352, 353. We are going to race to the finish of this Surtur saga. And we're going to start off with an issue entitled Ragnarok and Ruin. Thor has been taken out of the battle, and Odin takes center stage in his big once in a millennia rematch with Surtur the Fire Demon. And before we kind of get into a kind of a breakdown of this issue, Nathan wanted specific attention drawn to the first page of this. So Nathan, why don't you roll with that one? What stuck out to you?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I noticed, really through the whole Surtur saga, is just the supreme use of scale and perspective in order to tell the story. So, when we're focusing on Thor or Odin or Heimdall as sort of the agent, the one who's making things happen, what we get is Surtur in the far distance, so that, the characters through perspective are a lot closer to equal in size. But at the beginning of this issue, just to give a sense of what's coming, Odin, who is the All Father, who is the bearer of the old Odin power, he is, I'm just, guessing here, maybe 1/5 the size in this frame of Surtur. So, just the very first thing that drops into your eye as soon as you open the book is, you got this thing that is many times grander than Odin.
Fantastic opening, big scope, use of a full page splash, great use of it. This is the issue where Will had mentioned this a while back. We talked about it at 351. Our teams are still split up. Our teams are off doing their thing. So really, this issue is kind of a continuation of most of the storylines, most of the themes that we had in 351. So we're going to just kind of tap back into where people are at and what has progressed in their story. So Thor has been taken out of the fight. Odin has taken over kind of the one-on-one fight with Surtur. They have a big, huge, bombastic fight throughout Asgard. Lots of big, like, laser shots. There's at one point we zoom all the way out of Asgard, and we're like, yeah, this explosion is pretty big. It's hotter than a sun, and it's bright. It's a big, huge, great horizontal splash there. But then we go back to our human heroes and our Asgardians on the ground in Midgard. We're still trying to figure out how to stop the portal on top of the skyscraper. As Nathan said, Reed Richards is trying to science the crap out of this situation we got here. But we see Fandral and Volstagg and Beta Ray Bill. Beta Ray Bill is trying to keep everybody locked in on mission. And then we drop into what Sif is doing. Sif is basically supposed to draw out the fire demons. She and all the warriors of Valhalla they're playing this cat and mouse game with the army of Muspelheim. And Sif has a great line in here. Listeners to this show know I love Sif. She's awesome. I think Walt Simonson may write her the best because she is like unabashed, unhinged, and as she is
Unhinged.
Yeah, she's just going for it, man. When she is leading the Valhalla warriors from the fire demon, she shouts, Heroes of Valhalla, though we may never ever return to the green fields of Asgard, let us show these demons that the warriors of the Golden Realm are deadlier than the fiends of hell. So, I mean, goosebumps everywhere. And she is leading this charge away as we drop in with Faz's favorite character, Roger Willis, and the Human Torch, who they have a pretty generously timed storyline in this, where they go back to England, and they're trying to reassemble the Casket of Ancient Winters because as you know from the last Simonson Saga episode, Malekith was an uber douche about the Casket of Ancient Winters. He basically smashes it, and the icy gateway opens up that allowed Surtur to come into Midgard. So they're going to go and rebuild the casket, hoping that will undo this winter that has taken over Midgard. We go back to Sif's plan, where they're drawing the fire demons out. Tyr and the Executioner, they pin them between what I believe are the Twin Towers.
Yep, that's the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
So how about that?
So that definitely ages differently. And obviously, Simonson's writing this in the mid 80s, and those buildings signify something entirely different now.
Mm-hmm.
So they're using the space in between the towers as kind of a funnel to get the demons to go through there, so they can isolate an attack right there. And Reed gets his plan to work. They've scienced the crap out of this, and I don't even remember all of the explanations, so I'm not going to try, because it's Reed Richards, and I don't remember Reed Richards' dialogue worth a crap, guys.
I think those around him don't either. They're like, okay, whatever, Reed, keep going.
Come on, Reed.
Science, fix, science.
We go back to the continuation of Odin's fight with Surtur. We're getting closer and closer to Surtur's goal. Surtur's goal is to ignite his sword Twilight in the eternal flame that is being kept on Asgard, and Odin's basically trying to keep him from that, because if his sword is lit, if Twilight is lit aflame with the eternal flame, basically game over. Nothing can stop him at that point. He is power personified. He cannot be touched at that point. So that's what Odin is trying to keep Surtur from doing. We jump into that little storyline with the troll and the kids, and moving on.
And Gunhild stabs him in the butt.
Yeah,
Wait, actually, is it in the butt? Oh my god.
Yeah, there is a butt stabbing in this issue.
There is
It's just
butt.
like in the middle of the most epic parts of this run, we get trolls.
When we get to 353, I will scream at how they choose to break up some of the stuff.
Do you think that it's a troll because he's trolling us?
I highly doubt it.
Yeah, unlikely, right?
If it was Jason Aaron writing
This
it,
comic
yes.
being written today, I'd say absolutely.
Absolutely. Let me just mention too, like there's something
Yeah.
that Surtur says when he's like, before the lands of fire and ice, I was there. And so pointing back to like key Norse mythology, I was in Iceland last summer, and it's the land of fire and ice, because you have literally volcanoes right next to like glaciers and ice. So and that's where Vikings hung out. That's where Norse mythology was shaped and formed way back when. So again, Simonson knows his history there, and again, like the land of fire and ice, and even Game of Thrones, like it was filmed in Iceland, and he named his books off most of that stuff. So like that connection there, I found was like, stood out for me like big time, because he's like naming it from the get-go.
Yeah, I'm truly it's I love all the we'll just kind of reference one of my favorite things about these stories is the language that gets to be used in here. This over the top, crazy, grand, high fantasy language. You're never going to find this in a Spider-Man comic. You're not going to find this in an X-Men comic. You're not going to find this even in like a Captain America comic, where he's prone to giving monologues as well.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to find this type of writing in those books, because it is tailor-made for the Thor book. This is Thor's moment to shine, and the language has always been part of Thor's stories. There is a there's an incredible human moment here that we get from Beta Ray Bill where they've reverse engineered this portal to kind of be like, okay, you guys thought you were coming here, we're going to you guys. So Beta Ray Bill leads the forces through the gate, and they don't really know where they're going to end up. So the narration box goes like this. We see cheer, the forces of Asgard mount in the sky, and through the glowing gate way atop the Empire State Building, they emerge in the heart of the Sahara Desert and into a seemingly endless sea of demons. And then Beta Ray Bill just in small font says, "Uh-oh."
Yeah.
I loved that. I love
all
that
that poetic language, and then you get "uh-oh." And then at the end of that, I think at the end of that whole book, you have like next Doom 2, uh-oh.
Yeah, right. We get lots of uh-ohs. Because really this is our Empire Strikes Back. This is the point where the bad guy is winning, and he's about to, like, literally the last pages are Surtur takes out Odin. He freezes him completely in this orb from the dawn of existence. Which, you know, hey, why the heck not? And then Surtur goes to the eternal flame. He puts the sword into the flame, and we get this narration box. A hush settles over the worlds, and all of existence seems concentrated in the flame, the sword, and the demon. Doom 2. So Surtur.
Yeah, exactly.
Common knowledge, Surtur has done what he said he would do. He's done what he set out to do. Now, obviously, we have one more issue.
Did he
respond? But this is kind of our Empire Strikes Back, where the bad guy seemingly is winning, and
he's got the good guy frozen.
Right? Hey, the parallels are endless.
What? Golly.
So, Baz, what did you think of 352?
I think it's the perfect setup to knock them all down now. We've got everything in place. We've got all of our dominoes in line. The art, as always, is insane. We get a lot of cool character beats. Unfortunately, no gold mead for those that are listening for that part.
Gets this issue off, as does Thor.
They ain't got time for that. They ain't got time for romance. It's time to fight.
It was kind of weird. Like, this is an entire Thor book that Thor is not in.
Yeah, he's
so much Thor adjacent stuff, though.
What did you say, Faz?
So much Thor adjacent stuff, right? Like, you don't always need specifically Thor when you've got like it's not like this is a Captain America issue or anything. Like, this is all specifically Thor guys going around.
I think I forget, maybe it was John Jameson that said this during our episode with him, Nathan, that maybe the best way to treat Thor is as a team book.
Yeah, that was what John said.
Him like almost like, Will, correct me if I'm wrong here, Will, but it'd almost be like, hey, it's an X-Men book, yes, but we're still going to talk a lot about Wolverine. Like, it's like, oh, this is an Asgard team book, but we're going to do a lot of stuff with Thor. Like, but the team aspect, I remember when John said that, I was like, oh my gosh, that is a perfect way to do a Thor book. And like Faz said, there's so much adjacent stuff in here that Thor's not in the book, and we don't really miss him. So, yeah,
because you have the Scepter Supreme, because you got Odin doing his thing.
I mean, this is really Odin's like, hey, I can still go a few rounds if I need to. Any other thoughts on?
Would you say, Ryan, that he could do this all day?
He could do this all day. He could, because then Odin at least knows he's going to get an Odin sleep after this. But guys, any other thoughts on 352 before Nathan brings it home?
I'm going to do one issue 352 geek out, and then you'll find out I lied, and I'll probably do another.
One.
But
only one though.
But the World Trade Center bit, you know, I mean, obviously after 2001 it reads very differently, but reading it, you know, as a Simonson story, once again, I mean, all the way down to battle tactics, he is showing his supreme literacy, because this is exactly the way that the Battle of Cannae gets narrated. And the Battle of Cannae, for listeners who, you know, didn't take, you know, ancient history yesterday, is when Hannibal defeats the Roman legions by staging a false retreat. And then when the Romans charge in, he brings in armies on the flanks and crushes them between.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, you know, Sif here is Hannibal. I mean, she has defeated a far superior force
Mhm.
by a false retreat and by playing on their psychology.
Nice.
Wow. He just has that ace in the pocket. But Nathan, you want to just continue on into 353, the culmination, as the cover promises, the finale of the Surtur saga. There is so much packed into this one.
Sure thing. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because on the earlier episode I was on, Ryan kept pointing out that Odin was wandering around in a very Gandalf looking hat, and of course,
Yes, he
in
was.
352 he finally gets his you shall not pass
He
moment.
does.
So, I want to say that on 352 before we move to 353. But in 353, I mean, we start out with the grand triumph of Surtur. We've got Thor unconscious, we've got Odin frozen, and we start out with this, full page splash
Oh,
of Surtur putting Twilight into the eternal
so good.
flame. And then the next page, we get these lovely sound effects. Bzzzt, and swoosh. And then Surtur says, "My sword, why isn't it lit?"
And he has the incredulous look, like with one eye
Yes,
open.
and it's funny because I mean he's basically a pair of eyes and a mouth on a like lion's mane of fire, but he does
Yes.
have exactly that facial expression even with those limitations. And we find out, of course, that it is Loki. And
Yes.
Boom.
what's great about this is that Loki is one of a trio of characters in this run of episodes who has made it about himself instead of joining in the fight.
Right.
Carnilla refuses to come in, Lorelei refuses to come in, and Loki refuses to come in. The difference, of course, is that Loki is only apparently uninvolved because he has been pulling the strings the whole time. We get this glorious dialogue and once again all of these perspective shots. And with Loki, because he's the trickster, in one frame he'll be this gnat next to the gigantic Surtur. In the next one, because of the perspective, he'll be a little bit bigger than Surtur. Then there are several Lokis surrounding Surtur and so on and so forth. I mean, it's just again, artistically just glorious.
Yeah.
He mocks Surtur as being simple-minded, which is, just absolutely what you want Loki to be doing. He is the Iago of Marvel. And as that battle rages, our favorite character here. And by the way, one thing about language. No, I'll save that for later. But Roger returns, and he has reassembled the cask of ancient winters.
With glue. With glue.
Yes, with indeed. And when this happens, the effect reaches across the 9 realms. And with the power of the casket of ancient winters once again trapped, Odin can break free from his frozen prison. And we get, the great triple battle cry of this finale.
Love it.
What's that?
I love this part. Sorry.
Yes.
I got excited.
Odin cries out for Asgard. Thor cries out for Midgard. Loki cries out for myself.
It's my favorite panel of
Yes.
the whole
Oh
series.
man.
So
Yeah,
good.
so I love that. Then I mean, we get, once again just this glorious, sense of scale as, these tiny Asgardians fight the gigantic Surtur. Then we get the kids and the troll again. I'm going to let Ryan tee off on that later.
Oh, this was okay. I haven't written it. Hold on, Nathan. Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I'll get this
Tee
out
off.
of the way.
Tee off.
This felt so poorly timed.
Right.
Like again, I haven't written shit. Like I haven't written a comic ever. What do I know? As a reader, I was reading this and I was like, oh yeah, things are gonna get good. Oh damn it, the troll. I was like, we just got going here. Like I can understand if we like cut back to Beta Ray Bill fighting the demons or like anything else. Like I don't know, maybe that would have been a good place to put the Balder and Carnilla showing up into the fight there, but like it took me out of the moment that while it was building with the sort of stuff, I was like, oh, ready to go. And then I cut to that and I'm like, womp womp.
Now, I mean, the one thing, and I'm going to damn it with faint praise here. It actually is a visual parallel, because you've got the tiny Asgardians swarming the gigantic Surtur, and then you cut to the tiny children swarming the Grand Troll. And Ryan, listeners, Ryan is shaking his head. He's not buying this. I'm trying to put a positive spin on it.
No, and
Okay,
honestly,
I'm also going to spin it for a second. The art is beautiful. The troll looks cool. The kids all look sufficiently different for this sort of storyline.
sufficiently different.
For page, what page is it? Like 15, 14 of the final chapter of this amazing comic. No comment, but it's a good page.
Anyway, I'm complaining.
So at the end of the issue,
40 years old.
Yeah. At the end of the issue here, we get the grand payoff where the storylines come together. In the Sahara, a combined force of Hercules, She-Hulk, Vision, and Beta Ray Bill tip the gate, and it comes crashing into the sands of the Sahara. The demons are unable to connect with their power source, and their army disintegrates. Surtur senses that defeat of the demons. At that moment, Odin, basically goes Voltron again. We're not quite sure how. I guess because he's got the Odin power, he can go Voltron without his brothers there. Although maybe they are there. Maybe that's the message that I should have taken from that.
Odin
Nice.
And he grapples with Surtur, and as the issue ends, Surtur and Odin both topple, and they both disappear. And Thor and Loki alike are calling for their father as the issue ends. So it is a grand ending to, a grand run of issues.
Oh man. Nathan, amazingly synopsized. Guys, I feel like there's so much in here. Maybe let's let's pick on a few things, and then we can wrap up our thoughts.
I do want to say something about the language real quick, because one of the glorious things about this is that you do have all of this soaring, Tennysonian and Shakespearean language just flying in these issues. And then you got two characters named Bill and Roger. And when you put the names Bill and Roger into a grand Tennysonian speech, that disconnect, it's just great humor. And, that's one of the things that I really have come to enjoy about these things.
And I like it that Roger is like the everyday man. Like you have the heroes, you have the demon, you have the gods, and then Surtur calls, the Asgardians godlings, like, oh, you bunch of godlings, like demeaning kind of language. And then you have Roger, like the everyday man, who's like there to help, the human in the midst of it all. So,
one thing about Roger in this, there's a page, I think it's page 8. He, in the bottom right-hand corner in this panel, he has resting Eastwood face so hard. I want him to say the word punk so badly. I love that he is kind of a caricature of something, but I don't know what he's a caricature of. He's like a caricature of so many different things, and I think Faz should probably get the closing statement on Roger in this storyline. Really, in these last 8 issues we've read in the Simonson saga, because Roger has really taken Across the Bifrost by storm.
There's really something special about a comic about a space Viking set in Shakespearean style stories, with allusions to every famous story that's ever come through in history, speaking in crazy stories with giant grand imagery, and just a guy with a gun and an American flag on his hat plays a pivotal role in making sure that this comes through. He's not just any guy, he's just an old angry man who may as well say the phrase, "I'm too tired for this bullshit" at every moment.
Right.
He's the Murtaugh of this entire comic, and you're right. Seriously, he fits in this, but he also really doesn't fit in this. And I think that's the best thing about him, is that you don't open up a Thor book thinking like, man, if only there was a grizzled vet with a gun in this book. Oh wait, we have that too. We have all the things. Will, what did you think about the culmination of our Surtur saga, the 353, and how we really came to a giant, huge climactic end, with Surtur in the battle with him.
I had forgotten that Loki was in the mix. And so it's one of those things like why I didn't think he would show up there at the end to help. Like when I turned that page and he's like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm the master of illusion. I'm sitting here leaning against, like kind of picking my teeth, like all casual, like
He was all
yeah,
James Dean
it was
there.
all Jamie. And I'm like, oh crap. It really was like, heck yeah. It was like a shout out moment, like clap my hands. And I don't know why I got duped to thinking that wouldn't happen. But and then that panel of like for Asgard, for Midgard, for myself, it's just like one of the best panels in all of comics almost. And then you have like She-Hulk, Hercules, others, Beta Ray Bill. They're all playing their part in this kind of a climactic end to this battle. But like you said, there's so much going on that there's like, oh, don't. This isn't the end of Simonson's Thor run. This isn't the end of Thor. If you go to the next Odin's lost, there's still like a final page, like I want to see what happens next. And so literally
Right.
the next issue is called Picking Up the Pieces because there was so much that was broken from all of this series. And so they have to kind of like, let's see where these characters are at the end of this huge battle. But these 5 issues are pretty epic in scope and really peak comics in my humble opinion.
I don't think you could have said it better, Will. Like this we have a complete story at the end of this. Surtur's defeated, but then there's that small thing of like Odin is gone. And it's not the first time he'd be gone, it's not the last time he'd be gone. But we see not just Thor, we see Thor and Loki scream out father at the end.
Yeah.
And I think that is huge because just when Faz and I talked to Albert about Malekith's storyline, Loki is very, very specifically like not with Odin being his dad. And I think we talked about it also at the end of Nathan's episode with John. Like he's like, oh, he's my my brutish half brother and my oafish, stepfather. He's not about that. But then at the end of this, he passionately yells out father when Odin falls into the fissure with Surtur. There's just a few things I wanted to note here. A lot of it is Thor. And because I feel like we actually, for being a Thor storyline, we haven't talked a lot about Thor in these issues, because so much is happening around Thor, and like Faz said, there's so much Thor adjacent stuff going on, and there's a moment where Odin is being pushed back to the eternal flame, and Surtur's still going for it. They haven't really gotten him back on his. Haven't gotten Surtur back on his heels yet, and Thor opens up the storm on him, and he says it with this language. But now the very power of storm shall help defeat you, for I am in my own world now, and here my power is supreme. Come storm, come fury, thy master calls. I'm like, again, Walt, you rock, man. Like,
yeah, and you see his powers in full display, like whether he's twirling his hammer or making himself a tornado or throwing down lightning or rain and wind, like they're all there. He's throwing everything at it, and yeah, you really see like his powers and who he truly kind of represents and is in full display.
Just when Beta Ray Bill and the other heroes collapse the gate on the army. And Beta Ray Bill says, forward, warriors of Asgard, forward, heroes of Valhalla, forward all as we sweep the enemy before us to his total destruction. And is that very heroic hammer outstretched pose. We don't even see them rout the enemy. That's just where the panel ends. That's where the page ends. And we just we are so amped up and ready to go. And I love how this book, it brings us to the climactic finish with all these, they raise the stakes again and again and again and again and again and again. And this issue builds on what the previous 4 issues have set up so well. And then we get Thor with the hammer throw, and Odin kind of like body slams him into the the nothingness of Earth, and the story is done. As is our review of the story. Guys,
can I say one more mythological thing?
Final thoughts.
About 15 pages into the issue, pardon me, and my page numbers are different because I'm in the omnibus.
Okay.
But when they are first emerging into the Sahara Desert, and we get this, long speech from Beta Ray Bill. One of the things he says, the Lady Sif may even now have paid the full price for her valor, lying somewhere beneath the piles of the dead and dying in New York City, where we defeated the demons previously. And then the next thing he says, this is where I was just geeking out so hard. But though she may be dead, she shall not go unmourned or unavenged. And this is what Beowulf says just before he leads the Danes to go fight Grendel's mother.
Of course. Stop it.
That's why you invite a Nathan Gilmour to your party.
So once again, I mean, what I just love about this is that, anyone could drop, lines from famous stories and plays into a comic book. Simonson does it at such supremely fitting times, and there's just such an artistry to it that I just love it.
Yeah. Baz, do you have any final thoughts on 353 and really the Surtur saga as a whole?
Yeah, I'm going to take this moment to get on my soapbox and talk about the drawing, the coloring, the costume design.
As you should.
We don't talk about it throughout all the issues just because no one wants to hear me make the same 5 points 8 times in a row, but Walt is fucking incredible at this stuff. Everybody looks their quintessential comics look. Odin has like 4 incredible looks that as he's transforming in the various different forms. Yeah. Thor is always looking insane with his 6 discs. Classic Loki is looking classic. Sif's looking amazing. Roger looks really good. Everybody is looking great. Beta Ray Bill
look. Classic Roger. I'm a Beta cosplay Roger.
Perfect. You should will. Yeah. They all
a lot more.
The number of panels that we can go, holy shit, look at this panel, is just once a page almost, to the point where we can't even do it because it's just like we can't be here for 6 hours. No one wants to listen to that, and we just don't have time. It's just incredible.
No one wants to listen to that.
Well, our Thor core members would gladly listen to it as long as we got in deep about the mead, obviously. But
obviously.
But this, just some of the images, the one that sticks in my brain is the for Asgard, for Midgard, for myself shot of the 3 of them all in a hero pose about to fight. Like just the number of iconic poses that I want to recreate next time that I'm doing a Thor shoot is just immeasurable. And Walt just continues to dominate, no matter how horny he is in this run.
There's times where I'm like, I hope Walt Simonson hears this. And there's other times I'm like, I hope he never hears this.
Look, I think he should know that we love him more than anything and that we are obsessed with these comics.
It's I mean, I feel like every time I have to answer the question, so your podcast is only about Thor? I'm like, yeah, only about Thor. They're like, that seems like a weird obsession. I'm like, oh, buddy, we
you don't know the half of it.
Tip of the iceberg. So Will, do you have any final thoughts on 353 Surtur Saga, this episode of the Simonson adventure we're on?
Well, I think, with our hammered Q&A, there was the question, what's the quintessential run? If you had to read other than Aaron's God Butcher run, what are you going to read? And this is the one I would point people to.
Oh, I mean, that is, I'm not surprised by the choice. That is incredibly high praise and very worthy company. With one of the quintessential, not just Thor comics, one of the quintessential modern comics with God Butcher. I think this is, I agree with Will. Like, if you want a Thor story that feels like what a Thor story should feel like, these 5 issues will do it. Like, these 5 issues will give you all the main feels of a great Thor story.
And it's the whole scope of the Marvel universe. So it's like, yeah, it's not a big crossover run. We have to get a bunch of tie-ins. Like you have some of your favorite Marvel heroes like Fantastic Four and the Avengers show up to help out because New York's being invaded, you know. So it's Thor, but it's not like I'm reading the original source material of Norse mythology. It's like it's Marvel Thor and kind of gets back to the roots of that. And I think it's yeah, can't
Everybody,
more praises of it.
I mean, we're so happy that you got this far in the Simonson Saga with us. We have so much more Simonson Saga left. Like if this episode has been like, man, these comics really are great, I should go back and read them. You should go back and read them. You should go back and read them, and you should read ahead because we got so many great storylines coming up. We have Scourge's Last Stand coming up. We have Frog Thor coming up. We have the Time Variance Authority coming up. There's so many great things, and we're eventually going to get to the Midgard Serpent, and we're going to talk about Armored Thor when Thor gets a brand new look that was, kind of inspired the look from Love and Thunder. We're going to talk about Baldur's miniseries. There's so much good stuff coming up. We have scratched the surface on the Simonson Saga. We have talked about a lot of his famous issues, but we are far from done talking about great comics that Walt Simonson wrote, Walt Simonson drew. So I want to thank all my friends who decided to hang out with us today on this Thor's Day. Will, Faz, Nathan, thank you so much, guys. I cherish the time we get to hang out, and man, we don't get to do it enough. But everybody, we are going to sign off right now. You can check us out on Instagram at Mighty Thor Podcast. You can check out our Discord. We have links for that. Faz and I are on there a lot, kind of just chilling with people. Will pops in every once in a while. We haven't gotten Nathan on Discord yet. We should get Nathan on.
I keep meaning to, and I forget.
Well, hey,
put him right on the spot. I love it. Now he's going to make an excuse.
Listeners,
sorry, I was watering my cat, guys. Otherwise, I would have been on.
Guys, if you're like Will and Faz and you're already joining our Discord, awesome. Shoot us a line. Tell us what you're thinking about new comics, old comics. Just we have a general thread where you can just throw out whatever. And if you're like Nathan, you're like, I've been meaning to do that. Hey, go check out the link. Join today. We would love to have you join our little small but mighty community over there on Discord. You can join our Patreon, join the Thor Corps, become another one of the listeners Prime, and you can support us there. Everybody, really, no matter what you do, no matter where you're at, if you can support us at the next level, that's awesome. If you can't, we just encourage you keep listening, keep engaging with us, and no matter where you are, what you're doing, remember to do one thing. And that is to stay worthy. Da-da, da-da-da.